Your top stories this evening sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Dr. Roopnaraine rescinds his resignation to continue serving as a minister. Top cop instructed police to release alleged mastermind. COI hears 3 Guyanese miners killed allegedly by Venezuelan gang. Camp was attacked thrice by gang. And my husband was not a thief. Muscle's alleged killer on the run. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Thursday, July 20 edition of the HGP Nightly News. We have what you need to know this evening. Dr. Rupert Roopnaraine has rescinded his resignation and will continue to serve as a minister of the government. This story from Rodin James.
1 month after being reassigned to the Ministry of the Public Service, Dr. Rupert Roopnaraine tendered his resignation last Sunday. President Granger on Wednesday confirmed that he was in receipt of a letter from Dr. Roopnaraine, but refused to disclose the content of that letter. On Thursday, Minister of State Joseph Harmon provided an update on Dr. Roopnaraine's position.
Yesterday afternoon, Minister Roopnaraine met with the President in my presence and had a very fruitful discussion with respect to his portfolio. It was clear after that meeting that Dr. Roopnaraine will continue to serve as a minister in the government, as a member of Parliament, and as a valued member of our cabinet.
Minister Harmon said the talks about Roopnaraine's new portfolio as Minister of the Public Service were very fruitful, and Dr. Roopnaraine recommitted to serving in that portfolio.
Dr. Roopnaraine's contribution to this country and his ability and capacity to continue to contribute is one which the President spoke about, and was very happy that Dr. Roopnaraine has actually pledged to continue serving in the interests of all of Guyana.
Minister Harmon confirmed too that one of the reasons that had been given in the resignation letter was Dr. Roopnaraine's poor health, which had been preventing him from functioning optimally.
But the President gave him the assurance that the support which he needs to ensure that he continue to function in his ministry effectively will be given to him in that regard.
The Working People's Alliance on Wednesday said Dr. Roopnaraine had engaged his fellow party executives about his decision to resign from the coalition. Royden James, HGP Nightly News.
Thank you, Royden. A West Bank Demerara woman is blaming a newspaper article for the fear that has gripped her household. The man suspected of killing her husband is on the run. Here is more. The reputed wife of Eon Currency, the Tushan man who was found with a single gunshot wound to the head on Sunday last in the area seen here, believes that the man suspected of killing her children's father may come after her. Keisha Withright said several local newspapers misquoted her as saying that the murder suspect who recently escaped from the GPHC, even while under police guard, was the man who killed Currency, called Muscle.
Starbrook News. I've spoken to them, and I've also spoken to Kaichur News. But Starbrook News put in the paper what I haven't said. They put things like, I said that Nelly killed Muscle. I didn't tell them that. I told them I get to understand. A strange man was in the village, and the strange man is who said, come and say that Nelly is calling Muscle. I never said that Nelly killed Muscle. So Muscle went to see what Nelly had wanted.
The woman said she and her 3 children are living in fear after she learnt that Melford Jeffrey had escaped from the hospital while under police guard.
And I am fearing I needed reporters and the papers, everybody to stop putting wrong things in the papers about me. Because they're putting my life at risk.
Residents had labelled Muscle as a cab driver of questionable character. Police believe, too, that the shooting death of the Tushan man might have been a vendetta killing. Withright is refuting such allegations. Do you know your child father to be a known thief?
I don't know my child father as no thief, The police had come at our home umpteens of time and haven't came up with anything because I don't know him as a thief. I know to myself if my child father was a thief, he wouldn't have died and leave me in debts. I have my home to pay for installment. I have the car to finish off paying for. I have things that you take from different places like coats and such to deal with. I am in bed, there's my home, the roof is leaking, the door is not properly and these kind of things. So I don't know what kind of thief man would be thieving and not fixing his home.
She wants justice for Currency's death.
I need justice. More than justice I need. He was no thief. He had never went and robbed nobody. I don't know knowledge. And it's not only me that don't have knowledge of Ian. It's the people that Ian works with before. Because he worked different places. He used to work with Slinger's family and such. And nobody have knowledge of Ian is a thief.
An autopsy was conducted Thursday morning which revealed that Ian Currency, called Muscle, died as a result of gunshot injury to the head. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. Minister of State Joseph Harmon has responded to statements by leader of the opposition that persons who are serving in the coalition government had played a role in the crime spree that gripped this country during the first decade of the century. Mr. Harmon assured that the COI in that regard is coming. Rodin James is on this story.
For 2 consecutive weeks, leader of the opposition Bharat Jagdeo has been hammering on this very issue. Jagdeo first said that the PPP will not protect criminals who broke out of jail recently like some members of the PNC did when there was the jailbreak in 2002. The leader of the opposition went as far as to say that when it comes to the Commission of Inquiry which President Granger promised into that period, the president is only talking the talk.
That many of the people in Parliament now, many of our current leaders in government, played in the troubled times. So we are open to it.
Statements by the leader of the opposition are purely speculative. If these things were happening in the early 2000s, then clearly his government or his party, his government would have been in power and ought to have taken some action on that if in fact the report has any credibility whatsoever.
Minister Harmon was at the time responding to questions by Nightly News during his post-cabinet media briefing on Thursday. Harmon reminded that while in opposition, Mr. Granger piloted a motion in the National Assembly for an investigation into that period and that the PPP government at that time sulked upon that motion.
We have to bring closure to the many issues which affected that period, to the many mothers, daughters, fathers, children, cousins who lost people during that period of time.
Mr. Harmon said too that Mr. Jagdeo is feeling his way with this matter.
The leader of our opposition is speculating because he said he had the power to do it when he was in office. So let him stop crying now.
Royden James, HGP Nightly News.
Thanks for staying tuned to the HGP Nightly News. A horrifying story now. 3 Guyanese miners were slaughtered allegedly by a Venezuelan gang who invaded their mining camp sometime between Wednesday and Thursday night. The authorities have made it clear that those culpable will be brought to justice. Jeffon Vickery is on this story.
The police reported that the bodies of 3 men and also a wounded resident of Supernam Creek were brought from a mining camp in Venezuela and taken to Port Kaituma, Northwest District, on Thursday morning by their co-workers. The dead men were identified as 55-year-old Vernon Eudoxie, 23-year-old Colin Solomon, both of Pittsburgh, Port Kaituma, and 19-year-old Samuel Moses of 4 Miles Ornock, Port Kaituma. 22-year-old Joel Panton, who escaped into the bushes and avoided death, was brought to Georgetown where he remains in a critical condition. Meanwhile, the sister of Eudoxie, Claire Richards, refuted claims by the police that the incident happened on Venezuelan soil. She claimed that her brother's camp was close to the Venezuelan border in Lena, Bagdam. She said that this was not the first time the men came face to face with their killers.
There's a group of 5 Melandros going around in the border area, robbing camps, and my brother's their camp has been robbed 3 times before. It's not anything new that the army, the government, the police don't know about. I'm positive that they know about it because it was in Demerara Wave 3 days ago.
The woman made a call for the authorities to bring her brother's killers to justice, and Minister of State Joseph Harmon during this week's post-cabinet press briefing assured that all steps will be taken by the Guyana Police Force to bring the perpetrators to justice.
And whether they be Venezuelans, Guyanese, Brazilians, or what, once a crime is committed in any part of this country, our police force will go after the criminals. And they have the full support of the National Security Committee and the agencies that are connected to the National Security Committee in their effort to ensure that law and order prevails in this country, in every part of it.
The police say that the injured victim and the now deceased men were part of a team employed by a Brazilian miner operating a land dredge at Imataca Mining Bagdam, Venezuela, approximately 3 miles from the Guyana border. Javon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
Thank you, Jeffon, for your reporting. We provide you now with an update on that alleged assassination plot against the president. The COI hears that a high-ranking police officer had ordered the release of the alleged mastermind. Here's more. As the first witness was called to the stand as the Commission of Inquiry into the alleged assassination plot against the president got underway, Andrew Gillard told the commission that after he made the report at CID Ivleri that his neighbor had offered him $7 million to take out the president, a high-ranking police officer telephoned CID Ivleri and instructed the ranks to release the businessman against whom the allegation was made. That call reportedly took place within minutes after the police had detained the alleged mastermind for questioning.
Upon they talking the one thing in the car, now Narayan the phone rang, and Narayan answered the phone. When Narayan answered the phone, Narayan was talking to the phone for a period of time, and then he said, Narayan, then he said, Imran, Mr. Sila is on the phone for you. After that, Imran went to talk to his son, and then he was on the phone talking, and after, the man said, I definitely said, probably not a bit. Imran ran out free. And I ended up left charged.
Gillard told the commission that after that call to release the alleged perpetrators was received, the police in turn charged him for allegedly threatening the perpetrators, and to date he has not gotten back his bail money. He assumed that it's because of the businessman's connection within the force that he was allowed to go free.
Imran Khan allege that you're assaulting, right?
No, that
you're threatening, and you end up being put on bail. How much bail you put you on?
20,000 hours.
Where this transaction take place? You actually, who bail you?
My wife had to call, remember, bail on one year. So I had to call for assistance because I can't bail later. So I had to call for the wife to come. She was working at the business, so we had to wait for the business closed, and then she came and she went and do the bail transaction at breakdown, and then she had to bring back the receipt.
So she has a you got back this money, you got back this money?
No, that's why you go and ask them.
So you still you or your wife still in possession of this bail receipt?
Yes.
Where is it? Do you have it there? She has it? We can
The commission heard that the police dragged their feet on investigating properly the alleged assassination plot. Gillard also told the commission that he's living in fear, knowing fully well how dangerous and well-connected the alleged perpetrators are. He said he has lots of evidence to prove that there was a plot to take out the head of state.
And I got series of it with evidence to prove that this man wanted to kill Bridge. And still the police had it done. So, right now I'm telling the truth, I just really want to tell Mr. Okay, ask me why. I said short time, don't be surprised when the video come tomorrow. That's a wrong plan. Because I know what they do. And people approach me and tell me that they offer them food, Whatever they go, they come and give a closer when they know they put you under pressure to take it back. They give a car, a thief in car. Nobody investigating them.
The hearings continue on Friday. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. Meanwhile, there is word from the horse's mouth that several high-ranking policemen would be summoned to appear before the COI, some of whom have been labeled by a witness as associates of the alleged mastermind. Here's more. In order to investigate whether there was failure or neglect by police officers or other persons investigating the alleged plot to assassinate President David Granger, a few high-ranking police officers would be summoned before the ongoing Commission of Inquiry, including Police Commissioner Silal Prasad. Can you say off the bat if the Commissioner of Police is likely to be summoned?
Yes, Benny, if you look at the terms of reference speak to the process, how the investigation was handled, who knew what, where, when. It speaks about to defects perhaps in the system and all of that. So almost certainly senior persons in the force are going to be summoned to explain what took place and certain systemic, that's the word they use, issues.
Assistant Police Commissioner retired Paul Slow. Mr. Slow is heading the Commission of Inquiry. Slow reiterated that the Commission of Inquiry will record and report on what official action was taken on the basis of the information received that there had been, allegedly, a plan to assassinate President Granger. How many witnesses are expected to be called to the stand?
Well, quite a few. As it is now, I can't give an exact number, but, you know, as the inquiry progresses, names are going to be called, and as the names are called and persons are mentioned, then I will seek to summon those persons to give evidence.
Commissioner Slow maintained that all evidence and information received by the COI will be vigorously pursued.
Right, so we have it now, the allegation on official record. Names were called, places were mentioned, and we are going to pursue that vigorously.
Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. The People's Progressive Party believes that they are being kept out of the loop with regards to the aftermath of the Camp Street jailbreak. The party says it has lots of unanswered questions. Rodin James reports.
The parliamentary opposition recently met with Ministers Kemraj Ramjatan and David Patterson in the presence of Commissioner of Police Silal Prasad and Director of Prisons Gladwin Samuels for an update on the situation regarding the Camp Street jailbreak and Inferno. PPP spokesman Juan Egil, who was present at the meeting, registered his party's dissatisfaction on Wednesday.
We have said we're not giving any political cover to these criminals. We want the security of the state. And if you're going to have the security of the state, the opposition must know what are the facts so that we'll be able to provide the necessary statements in support of the security forces.
Egil said that the PPP's questions to the officials at the meeting were frowned upon.
The second thing we sought to get was there any time when the prison officers were not in control of the prisons, or did the prisoners take command of the prison at any time and started to release people? The director of prisons started to give us an indication that prison officers were apparently placed in a room and set afire. And prisoners had to rescue those prison officers from that room that was lit afire. I'm sure that wasn't said to you in any of your press conferences. At that stage, Mr. Ramjatan basically wanted to shut the meeting down, saying all of those things will come out at a commission of inquiry.
In the view of Mr. Egil and the PPP, what they attended last week was not a briefing, but merely a photo opportunity.
And it would appear that Minister Patterson is the new Minister of Public Security because he chaired that meeting, and he was the one who was featuring in giving all of the responses and telling the Commissioner and the Director of Prisons if they can or cannot speak.
Basically, what the PPP wants is to be in the thick of things, as they believe an issue such as the Camp Street jailbreak issue is of national importance. Royden James, HGP Nightly News.
You're watching the HGP Nightly News. Two Essequibo men were remanded to prison for that $85 million cocaine bust by the Guyana Defense Force this week aboard a vessel off the Pomeroon River. More from Jevon Vickery.
45-year-old John De Silva, a farmer of Grant Strong Hope, Pomeroon, and Kevin Fitz Gordon, 34, of Jim Housing Scheme, Essequibo, were both remanded to prison by Chief Magistrate Ann McLennan for trafficking cocaine. According to reports, De Silva and Gordon were intercepted on July 17 while heading to Georgetown in a vessel. Gordon was previously charged and placed before the courts in 2015 for possession of 1.1 kilograms of cocaine for the purpose of trafficking. He was acquitted on the charge, but in June 2017, he was arrested by Kanu ranks for possession of a large quantity of U.S. currency and handed it over to Soku. The facts of the case stated that De Silva and Fitz Gordon on the day in question had in their possession 94.954 kilograms of cocaine for the purpose of trafficking. According to the police, the men were intercepted by Coast Guards ranked about 4 miles off the mouth of the Pomeroon River. Jevon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
President Granger has hinted at the early selection of a substantive chancellor of the judiciary. Jevon Vickery is on this story.
President Granger was very guarded in his response to a query about the appointment of a substantive chancellor of the judiciary. But he did let the cat out of the bag, and that is, the president referred to the leading candidate as a male.
And the panel has interviewed some applicants, and the recommendations have been made. And the applicants or the successful applicant is now being conducted to determine whether he would accept the nomination.
President Granger withheld the name of the person nominated to be the new chancellor, saying that other formalities must be observed, but he did give a time frame within which a formal announcement should be expected.
I would like to have the opportunity to consult with the leader of the opposition. I expect within about 2 or 3 weeks, early August.
Just days before former acting Chancellor Justice Carl Singh proceeded on retirement leave in January, the government had advertised for suitably qualified persons to fill the vacancies of Chancellor of the Judiciary and Chief Justice. Guyana's most recent substantive chancellor was Justice Desiree Bernard, who served from 2001 to 2005. Jevon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
A group of teenagers who represented Guyana well in the first global robotic competition in the United States early this week returned home, savoring their success. Rodin James has the story.
To much pomp and fanfare, this group of young Guyanese returned home Wednesday night after taking part in the first ever Global Robotics Challenge in Washington, D.C. on Monday and Tuesday. They finished 10th out of 165 countries. The youths were welcomed home by First Lady Mrs. Sandra Granger, Director of Sports Christopher Jones, and other officials. The emphasis being placed on robotics in Guyana originated only about 1 year ago when the STEM robotics camps were launched due to the interest shown by the First Lady and overseas-based Guyanese Karen Abram. Guyana, although not technologically advanced, finished ahead of scientifically advanced countries such as Russia, China, and the United States. A statement from the Ministry of the Presidency on Thursday quoted the First Lady as saying that she is determined to ensure that every town, village, and community are targeted so that every child can become exposed to the possibilities of STEM education. She noted, too, that once facilities and opportunities are made available, more children will be drawn to these areas of study, and this can only lead to further growth and development of the country. With the recent success, the First Lady disclosed that talks have begun with Ms. Abraham to set up leagues and clubs in Guyana which can promote and grow Guyana's interests and talents in robotics. The airfare for the youths to and from the United States was sponsored by Fly Jamaica Airways. Roy Den James, HGP Nightly News.
I'm Calvin Chapman with HGP Sports Cars. Good evening. The Powerade Rainforest Water Malta Supreme Georgetown Amateur Basketball Association tournaments continued Wednesday night. Shamar Huntley helped Eagles continued their unbeaten run on night 7 in the Under-23 division, while the defending Under-23 champs Bounty Colts broke their losing streak. Night 7 of the Georgetown Amateur Basketball Association's Banks DIH-sponsored first, second, and Under-23 divisions tournament resumed on Wednesday at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall with 2 matches in the Under-23 division. It was a good day for the favorites as both undefeated Eagles and Colts enjoyed relatively easy wins. In the first match, Shamar Huntley's 17 points rallied Eagles past pace setters. The win allowed the 2015 GABA Under-23 champs Eagles to remain unbeaten in their 2 Under-23 games. The club has played 4 games overall in the tournament and are unbeaten. In last night's match, Huntley's 17 points stepped up to the challenge after the team's captain and star player Travis Belgrave, 4 points, played with a minor ankle injury and wasn't at full throttle.
Was a little difficult at the start, but then I got into the energy and I got a little warm, and there's where the game I really began scoring.
How important is winning the Under-23 title for Eagles? You guys are only competing in the Under-23 and the second division, no first division. So how important is this for you guys?
It's very important in both divisions. As a matter of fact, Eagles once won the champions, and last year we didn't win, so this year we're looking to regain the championship.
Kwesi Thompson, 13 points, made valuable contributions to the Eagles' win. Out of his 13 points, he netted 2 3-pointers. Nkosi Alikok, 12 points, played well for Eagles with some neatly finished layups from fast breaks. Top performers for losers' pace setters included Tafawa Daly with 15 points, inclusive of 2 3-pointers, along with Jude Stephanie, 13 points, and Quincy DeSantos, 12. Defending champs Colts breezed past Pleasance Guardians from jump ball with an easy 13-point, 66-53 win in the second Under-23 game of the night to break their 2-game losing streak. Colts led the game from the first quarter and never looked back. Colts' top performers were Timothy Thompson, 13 points, Daniel Ramlagan, 13 points, and Jonathan Puran, 10 points. Pleasance Guardians' Jared Sears scored a game-high 17 points with 3 3-pointers, but didn't had enough support as his team lost by over 10 points. The 2017 Digicel Senior National Squash Championships continued yesterday at the Georgetown Club Courts, with matches in all 4 categories being contested. Details to follow. Several exciting matches were witnessed, but most of the top seeds in the men's and women's open progressed easily to take their places in the quarterfinals. Defending men's champion Alex Arjun easily disposed of Jonathan Anshak, while number 2 seed Richard Chin proved too good for Adam Alves. 3 and 4 seeds Christian Jeffrey and Jason Ray Khalil both also had easy wins. Christian Jeffrey defeated Javid Rahman, while Jason Ray Khalil took care of Alex Cheeks. Nicolette Finance had a close first game against Nicholas Narain, winning it 12-10, but then easily won the next 2 games 11-2, 11-1. Nyron Joseph lost concentration and dropped the second game 4-11 after winning the first game 11-0 in his match against Peter Michael de Groot. He then restored order, winning the next 2 games 11-4, 11-4. 2 5-8 seeds lost to lower seeded players. Jean-Claude Jeffrey beat Ben McDeesey in 3 close games, while Shamari Wilshire beat Reagan Pollard in 5 competitive games 10-12, 11-5, 9-11, 11-2, 11-4. In the Women's Open, Makeda Hardin had to call on all her experience to defeat Abuseli Cadogan, while Victoria Arjun defeated Kirsten Gomes. In the other women's match, played, Sierra Lewis beat Madison Finance 13-11, 11-9, 11-9. In the men's veteran 35-49, Alan Downs beat Mehdi Ramdani in 4 games. Joe McDeesey then defeated Robin Lowe. In the men's veterans over 50, Joe McDeesey overcame Stephen Passad. Play continues today with the quarterfinal matches in both the men's and women's open. Round-robin matches will also continue in the veterans categories. The Guyana Chess Federation is pleased to present a one-day rapid chess tournament on Sunday, 23rd July. The tournament boasts 7 rounds with a time control of 20 minutes per player per round. Registration starts at 9:30 a.m. and the first round is scheduled to commence at 10 a.m. All chess players are invited to participate in this tournament, which will be held at the National Resource Center, Wolford Avenue, Thomas Lands. Registration fee of $1,000 per player. And with that, we conclude the HGP Sportscast. It's now back to you, Travis.
Dr. Roopnaraine withdraws his resignation to continue serving as a minister. Top cop instructed police to release alleged mastermind. COI hears 3 Guyanese miners killed allegedly by Venezuelan gang. Camp was attacked thrice by gang. And my husband was not a thief. Muscles alleged killer on the run. Those were our major headlines. For these stories and more, please go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Travis Chase. Thanks for watching.